This is a story about a goblin who was being chased by a dragon through the magical land of Goblins and dragons had been at war for many years. The goblins were a cunning and mischievous lot, always playing tricks on the other races of but the dragons were patient and powerful, and they finally had enough of the goblins' shenanigans. So they declared war on them. And now, this little goblin, named Grug, was being chased by a young, hot-headed dragon named Spark. The chase had been going on for days, and neither the goblin nor the dragon had any intention of stopping. It was just after sunset, and the sky was filled with the colors of the twilight sky. As they ran through the whispering woods, the trees parted just enough for Grug to squeeze through, but not for Spark. With a frustrated roar, he smashed into the trunk of an ancient oak, sending leaves and acorns flying everywhere. Grug slowed down, peeking out from behind a tree to watch the dragon struggle to fit his bulk through the narrow passage. It was then that Grug noticed a small opening in the ground, hidden behind some bushes. It wasn't big enough for him to fit through, but maybe if he could collapse it? Well, he took a deep breath and began digging furiously with his claws. Dirt flew everywhere as he worked as fast as he could, hoping the dragon wouldn't notice his little hideout. Meanwhile, Spark had finally wriggled through the trees, and he landed heavily on the ground, sending a small tremor through the forest floor. He shook himself off and let out a victorious roar, thinking he'd finally caught up to the pesky goblin. But then he heard a giggle coming from behind the bush. Curiosity got the better of him, and he walked over to investigate. Just then, the ground gave way, and Grug fell into the hole with a soft thud. Spot leaned over the edge, peering into the darkness. "I got you now, you dirty goblin," he said menacingly. But before he could grab Grug, the goblin pulled out a handful of dirt and flung it into the dragon's face. Startled by the sudden pain, Spark smacked into the hole's ceiling, knocking himself out cold. Grug scrambled to his feet, brushing dirt off his clothes. He couldn't believe how careless the dragon had been. He could have easily captured him if he'd just been more patient. As he made his way through the woods, Grug couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He'd bested a dragon, albeit by trickery, and no one would believe him if he told them. He'd been chased by a dragon for days. But as the sun rose higher in the sky, Grug's elation began to fade. He realized that if the dragon woke up and found he was alone, Grug would become the prime suspect. So he needed to get out of the whispering woods and warn the others. As he ran, he thought about how Spark might react when he learned the goblin had outsmarted him. A mischievous grin spread across Grug's face. Oh! This was going to be fun. He raced through the forest, dodging trees and leaping over logs until he reached the safety of the goblin village. There, Grug burst through the front door of the chief's hut and shouted, "We need to talk now." The goblins in the room stopped their various activities and stared at Grug. "What is it, Grug?" asked the chief. "I think I know where Spark is," Grug replied, his voice low. "What?" the goblins gasped. "You found him," where Grug shook his head, unable to contain his grin. "I didn't find him, but I think I know where to find him, and we should go there right away." And so the goblins, led by Grug, set out for the Whispering Woods. They crept through the trees, keeping an eye out for any signs of the dragon. As they moved deeper into the forest, they began to hear the sound of heavy breathing. At first it was faint, but soon it was clear that someone or something was close. Then they saw him. Spark was lying on the ground, his head resting on his paws, fast asleep. A small smile crept onto the goblins' faces. It seemed their little trick had worked. But as Grug approached the dragon, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity. The poor guy must have been exhausted after chasing him for so long. And that's when Grug noticed something strange. Spark wasn't breathing heavily anymore. In fact, his breathing was slow and shallow, and his face, normally so fierce and intimidating, was now pale and drawn. With a jolt, Grug realized the dragon wasn't sleeping. He was dying.